Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you all for being here today. This is the first of hopefully many of these little, if you will, podcasts that I want to do within our committee, the Member and Industry Engagement Committee, on helping chapters thrive, figuring out what other chapters are doing across the nation and how can we help everybody else, right? Because that's all what the ACF is about, is not just helping yourself, but helping everybody around you. So a little bit about me. My name is Chef Patrick Artz. I am an educator, a chapter leader, and being someone that has been around the ACF for quite some time, I have learned that when it comes to running a great chapter, it's very similar to running a great kitchen. It really comes down to preparation, teamwork, passion. What you put into it, you're going to get out of it from all of your members. So that said, our biggest question today that I really want to tackle with you guys is, what are the keys to keeping an active ACF chapter? So with our conversation today, we're going to dive into leadership, member engagement, events, partnership, how to measure success. All of those things are key. Before we do that, I just want to introduce everybody who is on the call here with me today. We have Chef Michael Thrash down in the ACF Tampa Bay chapter, Chef Corey Grupe of the ACF Chicago Chefs chapter, and Chef Jeff Sims of the ACF Palm Beach County Chefs Association. So chefs, again, welcome, and thank you all for being here. That said, now let's go ahead and get right into this, all right? So our first segment, our first topic that I want to talk about is leadership and governance. All right. Every strong chapter starts with strong leadership. If you don't have that leadership, who's running the show, right? That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that only one person has to run the show. That one person is not supposed to be solely responsible for that chapter. All right. It is a shared leadership, shared ownership, collaboration, all that kind of good stuff. Can anybody talk to me about maybe your own personal chapters or other chapters that you have experienced and seen in the past? What are signs that your leadership team is functioning well?
I'll go first if you guys are okay
Sure.
with that. Yeah. So, yep, in the Tampa Bay chapter, where I'm currently president, I mean, I was lucky to take over a very functional and strong chapter. So, I feel like I took over a slightly used car, not a dealer lot used car kind of thing that needs some work. So, I mean, the sign of that is just in, how healthy they are financially, the membership engagement, and the quality of the meetings and the get-togethers, and then the board participation. And how I portray that, or how I see that going about, or how to keep that going, is accountability, right? Just like we do in a workplace, with our staff, with anybody, our purveyors, our companies that service us, things like that. It's about accountability. Now, this is a little different because this is a volunteer organization, and these are people that are giving their time as well as ourselves. But there are ways to nicely follow up, whether through email, text, call, obviously our board meetings or whatever it may be. And I find that, it creates a culture amongst the board that, we're all holding each other accountable, and we all want to succeed for each other. And it kind of just creates that. So I'm not saying it's easy to get there. If you're in a chapter that isn't like that, it takes great leadership, and it starts at the president level, and then, the vice president, and then the executive board, treasurer, secretary, the elected people. But then it just takes one other person in a committee or some other board member to also, show off and then recognize them. I mean, I have the presidential coins that I have in my chapter. That is something we started, I think Rainey Marquis started years ago in the ACF, and, recognize them for excellence in public, at a chapter meeting, at a large event, things like that. I find nudge people along and keep them going. And it creates that culture that they want to succeed, to get recognized, but also not to let each other down. So that's a little feedback, I guess, that I see. So, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chef.
Mm-hmm.
Any other chef want to add to that?
I can add to that. So, Chicago, obviously, we're actually in our centennial year this year, putting together an event in March. But as you may or may not know, Chicago had two chapters for a very long time. In the 90s, it was one chapter. I think in the late 90s is when it split. We had two separate chapters. About 5 or 6 years, actually, during the COVID, about 2017, I think they were recombined to one chapter. And so some of the challenge of that is engagement became kind of an issue. And as we worked through that, the boards that were in place were doing a ton of stuff. However, engagement started to become more of an issue. More and more people just were not showing up to events. There was people who are upset about some of that stuff. In the last couple of years, we've been working to kind of bring everybody together. One of the things that I started doing is, communicating well with everybody and sending notes on what we're doing. But I've also been getting events on the books. I have events through August next year, and I'm trying to do multiple events a month. So if you can't make it, I get it. We're all busy. I mean, I just missed our last meeting because I had to travel for work, and that happens. But giving more options, more time, more things to go out, and then some quality content. And that's, kind of we're starting to get re-engagement, because for a while we were getting the same 10 or 15 people to show up to a meeting, and that was it. And as we've started expanding what we're doing and engaging people, and it's picking up the phone and having conversations like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Oh, I moved. Oh, okay, good to know. Or I didn't find anything. I wasn't really engaging. So speaking to people and asking what they're looking for. And that's kind of been a big thing that my board has been focused on, is reaching out and talking to people and getting engagement. It's like, we always talk about, like, I am an advocate. I think students are incredibly important, and you have two types of thinking on that throughout the ACF. I think they're important. I think engaging them is important, and bringing them into the ACF, getting them certified the second they come out, because they're ready to get their CC, and then go from there. So what would bring them out? It's like, oh, do I do a food photography? Do I do a social media event? Do I do, how to post on social media at the times? Do we do things like that? And just trying to find things that are going to be fun and engaging, and things that are going to bring people out, and something a little bit different. We've done different days. We've done Saturdays. We've done Thursdays. We've done Monday, Tuesday. And just, and it's interesting to see who comes out on certain days, because they can actually make it, which is kind of really helped drive us and start to grow what we're doing again. So that's kind of some of the things that we have focused on, and it seems to be working now, which is pretty nice. Pretty good feeling.
Chef, that's awesome. I'm jumping in at the end. So you guys covered a lot of the signs that the chapter is functioning really well, with meeting attendance and and event attendance and so on. And our Palm Beach chapter, congratulations, Chef Grupe, on your upcoming centennial. That's amazing. And I feel bad because I'm not sure the inaugural date of our chapter, but I know it goes back to the 70s, so we're not far behind that. But one of the things that really helps drive engagement with my board and with our chapter is community involvement. So we have a lot of partners in the community that we do different events throughout the year, in addition to our ACF meetings with them. But they are members are invited as special guests to a lot of our meetings. And with our board, as Tampa chapter, I inherited a great board, a successful chapter. At first, I was just trying to keep it running, keep it going. And fortunately, the membership has increased, over the last, I started a year ago in September. So technically, I'll be done in August, although I do foresee probably another year just with the transition of our board, which is fine with me. But, Chef Carroll at the National Convention, during his great closing remarks about delegating to your team, to your staff, empowering everybody around you, not to do everything yourself. I've really tried to do that with our board. And, it's just like your chefs in the kitchen. Some are really skilled at this, and some are better at that. And I try and use my board the same way. And while we have board positions, everybody works on the goal at hand, right? It's like the scholarship, we're trying to get that figured out. Everybody kind of jumps in and helps participate on defining those guidelines, and, where's the money going to be funded from? And so I think it's a little more synergy where it's not so job specific for each board member. I think that's helping us be successful. But yeah, I think that's all I have to add in addition to the other chefs on that topic.
Very good. Thank you, chefs. So you guys all kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but hey, that's all right, because this actually all kind of ties into one of my next questions that I was thinking about here. How do you guys keep board members from burning out and disappearing? Some of our chapters, some of our bylaws, they might not really have a distinct end date, or some of them might be 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case is. Every chapter is a little different. How do you keep your board members engaged and excited to be there and not be burnt out? Because like Chef Mike said earlier, we're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid to do this. We all have full-time jobs, families, kids. Sometimes it takes a lot, especially like Chef Jeff was just saying, if you inherit a chapter, if you inherit a board, something happens, crazy leadership side, you don't get to pick who your board members are. How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them as board members from burning out and just disappearing and falling off the face of the earth?
Go first this time, Chef Sims.
Okay, I'll go
Yeah.
first this time.
Yeah. That way,
I think
yeah.
I think one of the key things for us is that we always just have the mantra, we're all volunteers. So, whatever the contribution, no matter how small, be grateful for it. And, we're all busy. We all have different positions. For us, I think long-term planning has really helped us, like, who's going to move into a second VP or a first VP, the next year or the year after, like who's the next potential president? All of us as presidents really want to know who the next president is, right? Because you don't want to be Chef Dominic Laudia. Some of you may know. I think he was president 4 times. I don't plan on doing that myself, but so some long-term planning, and then we've had additional board positions to assist with that. So instead of having one first VP or 2, 1 second VP. We have 2 second VPs. We have 2 first VPs right now. We actually have 2 sergeant of arms right now. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask a board member to step down if they can't fulfill their commitment. You give them every opportunity. Like, are you going to start coming to meetings? Do you want to be on the board? And in general, if they're too busy with their position and their job, possibly they might be looking for a way out, but they don't want to speak up. And some of these guys are really successful, but they just don't have time at this point. They've got young kids and managing a big job, and so we asked them to step down, and they may stay on as a committee chair, but then you slide someone in that's going to engage more. So yeah, don't be afraid to hold the board accountable. And again, remember, we're all volunteers.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Grupe. Go ahead. Or if that's good for you, Patrick. I'm sorry.
No. If you guys have more to add, please. No.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to want to get the most out of this again today.
Chef Grupe, you want to add anything? Sorry, I don't want to.
No, I'd say the only thing I would add to that, and it goes to what you were just saying about the not being afraid to ask somebody to step down. Kind of to that point, it's more what I'm finding also is just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean that that's the way it needs to be done moving forward.
Hallelujah.
Like, we don't want to do this because this is how we've always done it. I'm like, I understand that, but it's not working. So let's not be afraid to change. And I love the bringing on the second vice presidents and things, because we're actually in the middle of doing that. I'm fortunate to have a vice president who was with the MCA chapter, and they've done an amazing job up there. And he's bringing those ideas and that life into the chapter, and it's been great.
Very good. Thank you, Chef.
Yeah, I mean, they said most of it. To add on to Chef Sims said, it's try to find who's next, right? At least in the executive board, in particular. Our board, I was just trying to count on my my sheet here. I think we have 18 or 19 board members. And we have chairs. We have a communications chair, we have social media, we have membership, we have chef and child, we have certification, we have nominations and elections, ethics, sergeant at arms, a lot of the stuff that we all have. And then some of them have co-chairs, like membership. There's 3 of them, right? Because that's such a big thing. And they can all reach out to different sectors and groups like students, senior chefs, restaurant chefs, corporate, whatever it may be. And, and rotating them. I found that, having, when I came on, I had conversations and I brought people back that maybe stepped away for a while and put them in a different role that was lighter, like sergeant at arms or ethics, right? That, is less active. And, they were cool because I just kind of want them around more for their knowledge and their lineage and everything that they've been through, and kind of guide us in certain ways beyond that exact position. And I find that's healthy. And I did the same thing myself coming up, through the board. So, and I think it keeps it reinvigorated, and then have a handoff period if needed, especially in the executive board. I know the chairman of the board usually is the past president, things like that. But I find it the best, and always try to find someone new, whether it be every 2 years or every year or wherever. You could change I feel like you can change the board, not the executive board. You can change the regular board almost whenever you want. And it's kind of cool. We added somebody last week to our board, so that's kind of it.
All right. Thank you, chefs. I appreciate that insight right there. So this actually ties directly into our next little segment here. Segment 2 I was looking at was member engagement and value. So, Chef Grupe, earlier you mentioned about planning out your calendar far in advance, as far as you can, at least, right? Let's be honest here. The heartbeat of the ACF is the members. Without the members, we're not going to have chapters. We're not going to have an organization, right? We're all trying to build up members within our chapters and within the organization as a whole. How do you plan your meetings? How do you look at where to hold them, when to hold them, how often? How does that planning process work for any of you guys within your chapters?
Well, for me, it was, the previous president. She had wonderful rapport with a lot of companies, and there's some engagement there. As we transitioned, I took over January 1st this year. In the beginning, we didn't have anything planned, and so it was a little bit stressful. It's like, hey, trying to get this first thing set up, and like we've got our first actual meeting in February, and I said to myself, I'm like, I can't do this where it's like walking in every day and you have a new menu, a new product, and you just got to figure stuff out really quick. So I just started trying to get things on books and having conversations and who wants to do what. And while they're people, said they want to do things, but I think, as we all know, as people will say, yes, I want to do this, and then they kind of just disappear. But we had a couple just great meetings, and that's kind of got out. And then as other, some of our vendor partners, as they started realizing what we were doing and stuff like that, that everybody's coming out now like, hey, I want to have a meeting with you guys. I want to do this stuff. And one of the ways I got them to buy in, so to speak, is I'm a person that, I don't have my hand out for, hey, I need you to give us $1,000 and whatever the case may be. I also own a restaurant on the street aside from my regular job, so I know return on investment is a big thing. So, for instance, Jurgowitz Duck was working with Sophie, and she wanted to do a meeting. I was like, great, let's do this. Get me some product. I'm going to get you 3 chefs, and we're all going to cook stuff. We're going to present at the meeting, have a bunch of people out there. Then you can take those recipes and you can use them to sell your product. And she absolutely loved it. It was a great meeting. And when all the other companies saw what we did, everybody's hand went up, which has allowed me to, to get more engagement. And now we have all kinds of people coming in and wanting to do different meetings. And then we can I had a headhunter. He wants to have a meeting, and he's been part of the chapter for decades, and he wanted to talk about what they offer. I was like, okay, well, can we take your headhunting thing, and it's like, hey, can we get resume writing for all the different ages and what we can do and things that'll be useful for people. So that's kind of how we've done it. I don't know if that's on topic or if I just went off on a tangent, but it's just how it flows.
No, not at all. I mean, you made a key point, right? I mean, if the meetings are boring, then nobody's going to want to go, right? That's going to hurt your membership numbers. But then by keeping your meetings engaging, other chefs or vendors or whatnot, they might be like, hey, I want to host a meeting. What you guys do here is fun, right? You guys have a lot of people. It's essentially free marketing at that point, or very low cost marketing for a new vendor or a restaurant, bar, winery, distillery, whatever the case might be. And that's something that's, we're all looking for free marketing, right, in the industry. So why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll jump in next on member engagement, just because our chapter really does rely a lot on our vendor partnerships, and some of those have been 20 years plus, but each year we may have other new vendors become part of the chapter. And again, it's about showcasing their product, and whether it's they donate product, we have chefs preparing it, give them the opportunity to speak at the meeting, maybe at the end with a PowerPoint, talk about their products, and then man the stations where they can interact with the attendees. But between Cisco and Cheney and one of our meat purveyors, Bush Brothers, they actually built their new facility, and they built a meeting room just mainly to host an ACF meeting in the future. And so we were at their new facility last May, and they're committed again for this May. We were at Cisco last February at a local country club in partnership with one of their clients that purchases a lot through Cisco. So they're tandem with the chef from the country club and with Cisco. That's an annual meeting. Cheney Brothers annual meeting. Scalisi Produce at their facility. It's our third year this year. Again, they had a new facility. As soon as we close the meeting, we get them to rebook for the next year, right? So we're very fortunate. My calendar is full all the way through June. In July, we don't do a meeting because of the convention. In August, we do a meet and greet, usually at a microbrewery or something like that, where it's not really a meeting at all. It's just show up. We buy the beers. We get a couple of chefs to bring some food and get some potential new members as we get into September for our kickoff meeting. So relationships with the vendors. I talked earlier about community partnerships with a lot of the charities we work with. But then with our secondary school teachers and tech teachers, I have a Lake Worth High School and a former alumni from South Tech, one of the local technical institutions that are on our board. So they've been really pushing the student membership. And she was able to work directly with National, and I think she signed up 8 or 10 students with a $50 rate. And we actually paid the rate the students' fees from our chapter, right? So it's $500. So we got 10 new members, and I think there's some parameters that go with that. They've got to attend a certain number of meetings, but. So yeah, communicating with our vendor partnerships, with our community, and with our secondary programs, really helps. With the educational portion of our meetings, we do try and keep the educational piece 20 to 30 minutes at the most, because you'll lose some of them. After 30 minutes, you're going to lose most people, and we try and keep it specific to the entire attendee list. We used to do a lot of stuff on culinary competition, and we'd have some master chefs that came in, which are amazing, but they get down to the nitty gritty and it runs into 45 minutes, and the majority of the room may not be interested in that topic.
Right. Yep. No, absolutely. Right. Got to keep everybody engaged somehow. Right. But it's a great idea though, keeping it down to 30 minutes or less. Otherwise you are going to lose people. Otherwise they feel like they're sitting in a meeting for work. Right, we're all here again, volunteers after hours. If I want to go sit in an hour-long meeting, I'll just go back to work. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
right.
You never want it to turn into an infomercial.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyone else want to add anything to that? If not, we can move on.
No,
good job. Okay. I was making sure. Yeah. That's making sure. All right. So, Chef Sims, you actually mentioned about student engagement. That was actually going to be my next question. One thing that I have been asked a lot in this role on this new committee that we have is, how do you get your students engaged? How do you get students onto your chapter? And then take it a step further, how do you get them to stick around after they graduate? I know in my chapter, we've been struggling with student membership for quite some time now. Various reasons. Speaking for the county that I'm in, we don't have the support of all the educators at the K-12 level. Unfortunately, don't have the support of the supervisors. They don't deal with the ACF. They don't see the ROI in the ACF. And that's just been a struggle for the last at least 10 years, I want to say, if not more, really. And there's not a lot we can do to change that, unfortunately, until people start leaving or retiring, right? But that said, how do you guys get your student members? How do you find them? How do you keep them engaged and keep them coming back for more and wanting them to come back for more?
Yeah, so I'll jump on this one first. So we have struggled lately in Tampa Bay to get students to even join, come to meetings as a non-member, things like that. So in the last five or so months, I've reached out to the two culinary schools that kind of we have left in the area that are both community colleges or trade schools. One is they're two different counties because our chapter kind of covers 3 counties in Florida. And I just reached out to them. I happen to know some of the instructors there, and I knew one of the directors there, and just kind of, opened up conversation, heard, listened to them. Maybe the instructors themselves have an issue with the ACF, or they're not educated enough about the ACF, and they're not talking about it themselves. I feel like if you go to the instructors or the directors or those in charge of it first, then you get them on board, then you have advertisements, so to speak, at the school themselves. Then I asked and offered, I can come talk to the class. I can offer a cooking demo. I can talk about the ACF. I talk about chef associations in general, my career, the hospitality industry, whatever it may be. And one of the schools took me up on it, and I went in there and I spent multiple hours and did that exact thing, everything above. And they were engaged. They were all excited about it. And then I worked with the administration there and working on doing, a low cost membership fee for them. Again, we'll waive the fee for the chapter. We're going to work with the national office to try to see if we can work with a property membership kind of agreement, a larger group and get a group discount. And then the other school, they're an accredited school, but they really don't know how to engage their students either. So we're uniting together that way to try to get them. And then we have plenty of money to give away for scholarships every year. We haven't been able to give it to them because we don't have any students that are engaged or showing up. We have criteria: attend so many meetings or events and volunteer and all these different things. And we have money to give away, but just no one to do it. So I would say that just try to go to schools. And then lastly, real quick, high school level, we're lucky that we sponsor the Collard Greens Festival in St. Petersburg, Florida, every year. It's in February. And what we started with them is we do a student competition prior to it in early January. And then these are high school level. And we pick a winner and like a cook-off essentially at one of the host high schools. And we decide that evening they win generous prizes. And then that winning recipe becomes a sample at the booth that we help sponsor the ACF at, and they get to go on the demo stage and demo the recipe with a microphone, and something like that is real engaging. And then just finding those instructors at high schools and go and reach out to them, offer them, sometimes they want a day off. So I said, go offer them, if you can, give them a day and talk to their classes, and maybe they can work it into their curriculum, so to speak, that day and do a demo and do so. I've done that plenty of times at the high school level. And that's how you do it. That's how you get the word out and try to sponsor as many little competitions, things like that. That's what I found works the best. So we're getting momentum again. We're trying to build up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if I'll jump in on that one more time on the with the student engagement. We have several different angles, and we have the same frustration with the secondary school community, because there's only a couple that will even get engaged, and I don't know why we can't get through to the whole systematic level, because like Lake Worth High School, we do everything with them, and even a little bit with Palm Beach Gardens High School because they're associated with FLRA as well. But it's having a champion on the staff at the school that drives it. But with that high school, we haven't done it in a year or so, but for many years, we did a competition and held a meeting at the school. So we had chefs come in 2 hours before the meeting, and they all got product. Some of it was donated, and we paired teams of students with, let's say, 6 or 8 chefs, set up food stations. They all prepped for 2 hours. When the meeting broke, everybody broke and went into the kitchen and tasted all these students' food, and we gave prizes, and we actually did a cake decorating competition as well with that. So, but outside of the secondary school, we work with the Palm Beach County Food Bank because they have a chef there. We got to know him because we have a good partnership with them. We donated a good amount of money this year to them. He has his own training program where he's trying to get people maybe off the street, transition in to a culinary field. And then there's another homeless feeding center, a homeward bound feeding center we work with. And then there's a small nonprofit called Recipe for Success. He only has 8 students, but we send some chefs in there to help mentor them for 2 hours. I went in and we made deep dish pizza, probably not as good as Chicago, but and some other pizza. And then we get them applying in our workplaces. I'm fortunate at the Breakers, I can hire someone on call with maybe no experience and try and use them for carving stations or, some basic tasks. And a lot of times they may or may not work out, but if we can get some of those people employed, you get an instructor at the school, that's what's going to drive that student engagement. At least it does for us.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chef, please.
We still struggle with trying to get student involvement. We've actually had meetings at culinary schools, and none of the students showed up. And I have, like, for instance, Jake, my vice president, is an instructor at that school, and so he's trying to get people to come out, and we're really working on these kids. I think some of the challenges are, from what I've heard from some of the instructors, are, well, you always ignored us in the past. And so they may be members, but they went national. They're not doing anything with the local chapters. So for us, it's kind of putting our money where our mouth is. Like I say, I'm going to do something, we're actually getting it done. So now we're starting to see some of the instructors, and there's a ton of schools in the Chicago area where they're actually starting to re-engage, which has been great. I'm fortunate enough that in the job that I have, we work with ProStart. We sponsor 4 high schools, and I've really kind of developed a rapport with these kids and introduced them to chefs. And then we, as a group, were able to help get them jobs. I actually just a high school girl now who is now at Kendall College. She reached out to me. She was, I told her, if you ever need anything, just ask. She reached out looking for a job. Called 4 James Beard Award-winning chefs. I'm like, anybody need anything? She got 3 phone calls. She gets to pick where she wants to go, which is pretty amazing. And I think you had brought up Chef Sims. Maybe it was you that brought it up. The how do you keep them engaged after they leave? And I find that what I'm hearing, because I'm talking to a lot of people I know in the city, and I'm like, hey, get back in the ACF. And in their mind, it is the old boys club, and trying to change that perception. Like, come out to a meeting, come and see what we're doing. And like, I know you're at the cutting edge, you're running a Michelin star restaurant, whatever the case may be. Come and hang out, come and see what we're doing. Give them something to it. And I think part of bringing those students back and keeping them is being able to re-engage with these chefs that are already out there that, for whatever reason, have decided not to go in the ACF for whatever reason that may be. And I've had some chefs tell me that, well, the ACF never taught me anything, which is actually I love when somebody says that to me, because I'm like, okay, what was your first job? Did you go to culinary school? Yeah, I went to culinary school. Okay. Oh, so you learned from the ACF that way. Oh, you worked at the Drake Hotel. Guess what? You worked at this hotel. Guess what? So, like, ultimately, everybody, what I explain to people is the standard was set by the American Culinary Federation. And so whether you know it or not, you have learned from the ACF. And so just trying to change people's perceptions to get them to re-engage and be a part of it is a challenge, but we are starting to see some of that re-engagement and some of the interest, which I think ultimately will help drive those students to stay in it when people are like, oh, I'm in it, it's back, and we're doing things like that. At least that's how I see it here in Chicago. I don't know if anybody else sees that.
Patrick, sorry. Oh, good.
No,
I was going to add on one minor thing there. Mm-hmm. You make a good point, and I go back to the accountability thing. You said, when students come the first time to a meeting, second time, whatever it may be, go out of your way to recognize them in front of everybody and welcome them. Create an approachable environment that they don't feel intimidated. They will, right? Because you see all these men and women, we got letters, we got this patches, we got all these different things going on, right? It's intimidating. You hear job descriptions and job titles and places you work and, all these intimidating things, and then if anybody in your chapter is coming across as intimidating, call them out on it, privately, right? And pull them aside and say, listen, be real nice. Like we're like, take a step back. We're trying to attract students. We want students. Be a mentor. Don't try to come across. Don't rub your own ego. Whatever it may be is the cause, and create that environment, and then follow up with them through an email or some contact, thanks for coming, a thank you letter or a thank you email. Like I'm trying to do that now for not just students, but new members that aren't even a member yet, right? Those that do the test drive meetings, and we invite them. And that's a way I found to keep them engaged. And then after they're out of school, that's the toughest one. But I know we already talked about that. So sorry, I just want to add that point, Chef.
Yeah, when you figure out the after school one, let me know.
Yeah, I don't Nobody has, because I was the same way when I was in school. I was a member during, and then I fell off and I couldn't afford it, or all the other reasons, right? You get distracted. So we got to find that sweet spot. So anyways, you may be talking about that. Sorry, Chef Artz, go ahead.
No, that's all good. Thank you. So a lot of what we're saying now, I just had a phone call last week with our new membership director of the ACF, and a lot of what we are all saying is what I was telling him one-on-one over the phone. It's how do we get them staying engaged? How do we get them as in the students? Me and myself, I remember when I was a student, I joined ACF back in 2007. And I think that was more so because we would hold a lot of the ACF meetings for the chapter at the college that I was attending. And our instructors would always take class time and have us go to the ACF meeting for at least an hour, or at least part of the class time. We were doing 3-hour classes, 4-hour classes, depending on what you had. And we would go sit in. And one of the instructors that I had, Chef Lynch, he was a big supporter of the ACF at the time. And I opened my eyes to the networking aspect of it, and just being able to see who's who can I talk to, who can I potentially get a job with, just all that kind of stuff. And that opened up a lot of opportunities over the years for me. And I just stayed active in the ACF ever since. I just never stopped doing anything. I took a little time off here and there. Then I got involved in the board members, 2011, 2012 maybe. And I've been somehow in a board position ever since for our chapter, just doing various things all the way down from nominations and elections committee person all the way up to vice president and random stuff in between every couple of years. So now I'm doing the national committee. So I've stepped it up even a little bit more. So
I do like how I just double checked the membership. I looked at the computer here. I do like how they changed it from a student member to associate member, and it's up to age 25. And I think we need to really tell them that rate stays, at up to 25. Like for my chapter, it's $100. I just looked, right? And I can try to negotiate. How much money do I get in my chapter? Can I $20, whatever it is, and say, we knock down to 80 or whatever, communicate. But I just want to add that point too. I just wanted to look, because a lot of it is financial, right? A lot of it after they're done with school, they're just trying to get by. $100 is a lot of money, right, for something that they're kind of in limbo. They can't reach CSC yet, right? Because they don't have the work experience and the hours, but maybe they're a CC. So there's not a certification carrot dangling quite there. And, we got to find, I'm not saying create another certification, but we got to find other ways to, anyways, all right, we can go on and on about this.
Absolutely. Right. And I believe that's why the ACF did create that CFC exam, one step below CC, to help with the students as well for that certified fundamentals cook, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yep.
And that's fairly new over the last, I want to say, 5 years, maybe, give or take, newest certification. So this actually ties into one of my last questions I have here for the engagement category. More of a little fun question here. What's your most successful event that you guys do within your chapter? What's your most fun meeting that everybody wants to come out to? Somebody that you might not have seen for the last year and a half that just pops up out of the blue to come to this one meeting.
Okay, I want to go first on this one.
Go ahead, Chef.
Only because we started an event. So I've been in the chapter for almost 30 years. I think I've been an ACF member since 1988. I'm definitely the old guy in the room, but for 25 years ago, one of our chefs did we started a thing for chefs in distress, because we had a lot of senior members at that time, and we did a small dinner with probably 40 or 50 people at a club, and all the chefs showed up and cooked, and we had students serving, and we raised some money, and we were able to funnel it to some senior chefs that were in need. Fast forward, 25 years later, we've been in partnership with a local charity called the Quantum House at St. Mary's, which is similar to like a Ronald McDonald House. So you have, this facility, after its second renovation, has, I think they have 60 rooms, and they're on the campus of a large hospital here in West Palm. And if you're traveling from out of state and your child gets injured, or you get injured and you're stuck in the hospital, they put you up. They do some incredible surgeries at the hospital where people are come repeatedly for surgeries, orthopedic surgeries. So they would stay for weeks at a time. And so it was a great partnership. And what we did, 10 or 15 years ago, we did, the Quantum House would take 2/3 of the proceeds from the event. We would take 1/3. And then we could use that for scholarship and even, help fund the Christmas or the holiday awards banquet or whatever. But it's transitioned now to an event where we have, I think we have about 18 to 20 stations at a country club, at the same country club last 3 years. And the ACF chefs show up with their team, and they do action stations, and it's a full dinner. And we have a whole separate dessert area, reception, and all the students come and volunteer. And there's probably 200 guests, and there's 125 chefs and cooks there. And a lot of the chefs and cooks have never been there before. And if a non-ACF chef wants to participate and I have a spot, I'll bring them in. And then they see all this camaraderie and all this cooking and all this fundraising. And we actually get a lot of new members after that event that want to be part of it. But it's a night where we all can get out there and do what we love to do most, which is cook. And the partnership is they sell the tickets, they set everything up. We just show up and cook. I coordinate all of the logistics with the chefs and the menus and all of that. But it's a great partnership, and it's very lucrative. We've raised for that charity in the last 20 years well over $500,000 or $700,000 for them, and for the chapter. Last year we had 35,000. The year before that, I think it was 30,000. Which again we can turn and give back to the food bank or the community, or buy knife kits for the kids at Lake Worth High School, or things like that. So that's our most successful event and program that drives membership and community involvement as well.
Jeff Grupe, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so we had those things, I would say, probably about 20, 25 years ago. And currently we don't have any of that. We are working on some. Our most successful, actually, event, not that generated revenue, there was a friend of mine. She's a sommelier, and she's also the foremost authority on whiskeys kind of in the world. We brought her out, and we saw people show up from Wisconsin, Indiana, Chicago, and just pack the room. We probably had, 110 people show up to that, and that's the most we've had out in over a decade. So that was fun. I am working on one right now, which I'm hoping will be kind of the new thing for us. That I just spoke with the town yesterday. We're doing it's the first it's a pig roast, and so what I've done with this is the town I grew up in. I still have a lot of contacts there. Worked with the mayor, and so she's approved this thing, and we're talking to the ACF about having ACF sanctioned pig roast. But now also the National Pork Board wants to get involved. And so they're going to bring farmers out. We can actually blow it up into this big thing where we can raise money for a local charity and then kick some money back to our chapter, which we can use for scholarships and all of that. And so I'm actually in the beginning process of this, and it's going to be in this last week of July or first week of August this year. So stay tuned. I'll let you know how that turns out.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Chef,
Yeah, we probably have a couple. I mean, I'll start with one is actually our awards banquet. Is probably our biggest attendance. We're very lucky to be in partnerships. We have the Fort Harrison Hotel in Clearwater, and I mean, I got to brag for a second. We probably have the most elaborate and best awards banquet of any chapter in the country. We have it in their auditorium, their big banquet hall. We have a stage with full production and lighting crew and stage crew and digital backdrops, and we have a live band. We have all the food donated. The staff is donated. Parking, like valet parking, everything, and it costs zero money for a membership.
Wow.
Many people as you want.
Awesome.
We have well over 100, 150 or whatever people. We live stream the whole event as well, and they do the full edit afterwards, and they do it like a full thing. I actually opened this year with a big musical number myself and sang a parody song to a Journey song and made everybody laugh and joke with the live band, and then we do our awards, we do our recognition and all types of things. And that definitely is our over the top. And, we take pride in not charging our members for a single event that we do throughout the year. We mentioned before with vendor support. The only exception is we also do a baseball game, and it's not the Tampa Bay Rays. We go with a single A club, the Clearwater Thrashers, and you get a better value. And if you guys have a minor league baseball team around you guys, I urge you to go through them. And we get an upper deck in right field. It's covered. It's got giant ceiling fans. We do it in May, so it's still hot, but not too bad. And we provide the first 2 tickets for any standing member on the chapter. They get an all-you-can-eat buffet there. You get 2 tickets. Parking is like $4 or something. $5 is not expensive. They're down the hook for parking, and then each additional ticket is only like $21. You can bring as many people as you want. So you get to go to the game. You get all-you-can-eat food, bottled water, soda. Beers are a couple bucks, I think, for a draft beer, and we just go out and have a big, fun family night. And lastly, similar to you, Chef Sims, we've done these fundraising events, a big dinner every year, and there was an association that we're partners with called the Ryan Wells Foundation here in Tampa Bay, and they've raised millions of dollars for scholarships through the year as well. Last year was their last evening with the chef's dinner. And we did our own kind of opposite season of them, but theirs was the biggest. So we're going to take the baton with that, and we're actually changing the venue from the Sheraton Sand Key Resort in Clearwater to Yingling Brewery here in Tampa that is going to host us. And we're hoping to have 20 different chef stations from the community, and they're responsible to bring all their own food for their station, do small bites, high-end disposables. The brewery will donate beer and staff and sell 200 tickets for $100 a piece or more tickets than 200. Indoor, outdoor, keep it kind of casual. Cornhole games and things. It's on a Sunday afternoon in March 1st. And our dinners in the past have been 150 people have showed up, as well as the 10 to 15 chef stations. And we raise money not only for our operating fund, like you said, Chef Sims, like one night you can raise all the money you need for your chapter in one day. We also raise it to give it away again to a kids place Tampa, which is like an orphanage type place, Liberty Manors for veterans that are housed, that slip through the cracks, that don't qualify for full VA help and things like that. And, all these different charities we give out to. So yeah, I mean, and I urge that. And those are kind of the things that we get the most, and our holiday party in December as well. But I would say it's kind of a tie between those events. I know I gave more than one, sorry, but
No, that's great.
yeah, those are the things, and those are our big featured events throughout the year.
So that event, March 1st, that's the date at the Yingling Brewery. Is that fixed?
Yep, it's fixed. It's all set. So
you're working with Sean Ekman on that?
Yep.
Yeah, Sean worked for me years ago. I keep in touch with him. I'm going to try and be there. I'm going to try and be one of the chefs there.
Come on up. I don't know if you've been there.
I'd love to.
It's a gorgeous kitchen, gorgeous.
Yeah, if I could swing it on a Sunday, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, Sundays, and it's early afternoon, late morning or afternoon. We're pretty much going to be, so that way,
awesome.
Not take their evenings, but and football season's over, so yep. Anyways, that's kind of stuff. So back to you, Chef.
Thank you. So absolutely. So it sounds like, number one, you got to keep it fun, right? You can't just always do the let's get together in a meeting, throw a PowerPoint slide up, and have all the vendors. The baseball idea is great. Being able to go out and not even wearing chef coats, go out in t-shirt and shorts and whatever hat you want, bring out the family, fireworks at the end of the night, and all that kind of good stuff. And it's just a fun activity. Something that a couple chefs I've talked to in the past were asking, like, how often do we get, or do you have chapter meetings? And when I was telling somebody that we don't meet at all in July because of the convention, and then every May or June we do baseball. Some chefs are like, how is that possible, right? I've talked to some chefs, different chapters around the country, that their goal was to try to meet once a quarter within their chapter. Other chefs were looking at doing bi-monthly. I personally always try to tell them, try to keep it consistent, have it on the calendar, especially if it's not going to be every month, but that way people are engaged and they know, hey, it's coming up. Next month we have a meeting here, or next month we're going to do this, or 2 months from now we have that. That just keeps people wanting to come back as long as it's fun. And I think it's great that a lot of the chapters are doing these fundraising dinners, or at least putting chefs out and doing these dinners, hopefully getting food donated. I remember our chapter, we used to do a golf tournament, and then we talked about it, like, why are we working so hard? We're a bunch of chefs. Why are we putting on a golf tournament when we could just put on a 10-chef dinner somewhere and charge X amount of dollars per head and bring all this money in, instead of trying to go out there and figure out golf? And well, none of us play, or very little of us play, but still, that's a lot more work to do the golf tournament than it is to find chefs to volunteer some time and hopefully get some food and venues and put out some amazing food, which is what we all do best. So that said, here, we're going to start wrapping things up here. I guess got a couple of other little questions here. So going into segment 4, I was going to look at sustainability and growth. How do you identify and mentor future chapter leaders? So I know earlier we talked about finding up that succession plan and who is going to be the next president, who is going to be the next vice president. How do you approach that? That's especially being a volunteer service where we're only together maybe once or 2 hours a month at the most. That's hard. It's not like we work with everybody every day and we see everybody every day. How do you identify who might be your next chapter leader in the next 2-3 years?
If I may, guys. So communication, value, people that are watching this now, before we started recording, we kind of were just having a banter about something kind of unrelated, and we talked about product and marketing and all these different things. The same goes for an ACF chapter, right? So, and this is more for those that are struggling. Maybe you're not compliant. Maybe you have low attendance. You're trying to build it back up again, things like that. My advice to you, and it'll kind of get to where you're getting at with that question, and spend as much, or if not more, energy on finding partnerships and vendors and donators and venues and all these different things. If you create a good product, people will come. People will buy it as a member. So the more support, we're lopsided, and that's a good thing. We have more vendor members and more support members than we do actually chef members in our chapter. So like Chef Sims mentioned, we're endless people that actually will contact us and, what do you need? What can we send you? What product, whatever. And we just give them a shout out. We put their logo on our website as a sponsor. You don't have to have a sponsor package, which pays money and all that stuff. I know the national office has some things like that. They're a sponsor if they donate some product in our chapter, right? And taking advantage of that communication of social media, that's a big one. Find the young culinarians that are great at social media. Make them a social media committee. right? They're better at it than a lot of the older people, right, in the chapter, and have them engaged that way, recognize them. They'll do vines, they'll do reels, they'll do all these different things, and connect everything, the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, like whatever you can, whatever X, I think it's called now, whatever you can post on and do, do that, and reach out and talk to your chapter, talk to outside, get followers, and have good posts and have consistent posts. Not just one a month after your meeting and take some pictures and that's it. Try to show and have hashtags and @ and tag the chapter, tag ACF chefs, whatever it may be. And that's how you build that audience. And then they want to see it live, right? They see it through social media and they want to go see it live, and it all snowballs. And keep it going. And then those people that are doing the social media, those people that are attracting new members, they may be your future leader. They may be a board member. They already are. They may be an elected board member. They may stick with it more, and they feel good about it, right? That they contributed and things like that. And just keep it going and find new vendors. And also don't turn your meetings into a marketing a sales pitch, right? I know we have to do some of that. We have to give them the floor for 20 minutes, talk about their product, talk about their company. That's fine. That's the nature of the beast. But don't do that every meeting. Don't just do that. Then it's boring. It's a trade show. So it kind of the roundabout way to get to that answer. But that's my perspective. Yep.
Thank you, Chef.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the social media is key, and we struggle with that, even though we have a really strong membership. I have one committee member who is really quick. Like during the meeting, she'll be posted on Facebook. Actually, no one can access our Instagram account right now. Like no one knows how to get in there. So we're probably going to. I just appointed a new social media coordinator, and we did a recent event at a coffee company, which also has a professional kitchens, like for rent, and for space. So they do like ghost kitchens, and they do production there, and it's a whole incredible facility, which turned out to be a really great meeting. But their social media coordinator, who's 20 something and just really hip with everything. She goes, I would love to be on your committee and to help you with your social media. So I'm trying to use that to get the word out. But the key thing for me is the timely communication after the meeting. So what I do, it was maybe a little old school. I'll send out a president's letter within 7 days of the meeting, and then I'm recapping, especially the vendors and the chefs that came and cooked and participated. And it doesn't even include pictures, but we did include links to everybody that participated, to their websites, their personal email, some of their product lines. Not to be a marketing thing, but just to thank them for being there. And it's just a fresh reminder for the guys who missed the meeting. Hey, we had a great time, and this is what you missed. So timely communication after the meeting, I think, is key.
That's a great idea, Chef. I like that. Chef Grupe, did you want to add or have any last minute?
No, I mean, I agree. The social media aspect is a big thing, and again, it's something we struggle with, and it's been a conversation, and we are working toward getting that done. I also send out in my monthly statement thanking the person that we did the meeting with. I think that's important. But as far as the succession line, that's something that we're working on right now, trying to develop a plan. So as we come up with more stuff, we'll share that, and I'm sure I'll be leaning on all of you in the future, asking questions.
So again, I do agree with all you guys. Social media is key. I try to do a lot of the social media for our chapter, and it's not that it's a difficult thing to do. It's more difficult to find the time to do it, honestly, between life and work and family and just everything in general. One thing I have learned is that being consistent is key. And I'll admit it, that's one of the things that I struggle with social media, is being consistent, is posting at the right amount of times and most engaging posts to keep people active. I do like Chef Sim's idea of sending out that email or follow up at the end, even if it was just something like a social media post, tagging the vendor, whoever it was, saying, hey, you can find more about their products by clicking here or tapping here or whatever. Just a little infographic like that. I mean, AI is amazing now. You can create these social media posts just by using Chat GPT or Canva. Tell it what you want, and it does it all for you. You just have to make sure that things are spelled correctly and that it looks the way you want it to look. And that takes a lot less time than trying to figure out what image do I want, where's the picture, where's this, where's that, just font match and all that kind of stuff. And I think AI is going to help with that a lot more in the future. All right, last question before we get out of here for everybody. How do you personally stay motivated to volunteer and lead, especially when we're all busy? We all have family, friends, life, work, right? We all know that it sometimes gets challenging to be a chapter leader. How do you stay motivated yourself?
I mean, I could tell you what I do. I mean, I think as we all know, it does get challenging, and that burnout happens. And am I doing things right? And there's that stress. I know that the national convention, you go to that, and you're always re-energized when you come back in. The charity piece, I think for me, like doing these things is, when you give back and you do things like that, you feel good about it, and it generates a ton of goodwill. And so I think that's, doing those things, and that is kind of what keeps me motivated, keeps me coming around, and then it's communicating with everybody. It's calling the guys in the Northwest Indiana chapter. It's talking to the guys in the Michigan chapter. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Just trying to keep active and keep focused on moving forward and doing these things.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to chime in?
Jeff?
I mean, this like you said. I'm sorry. You said keep motivated and keep like yourself. You're talking.
How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself engaged, especially when times are tough and you're busy and your holiday season coming up in the industry now? And
I mean, it's true.
President, what do I do?
Yeah, like again, juggling life and juggling our jobs and all that stuff. But I mean, for me, it's the pressure of the chapter, right? I mean, again, I'm the leader now of a very successful, healthy chapter, and I the pressure of that and maintaining that is what motivates me, and I don't want to let anybody down, right? And I want to maintain that level of excellence, and I want to, just like you chefs, we're in large metropolitan areas, right? And we have larger memberships. We're not small chapters. We're large ones, and it says a lot if Tampa is after your name, or Chicago, or Palm Beach, or Miami, or whatever, the New York City, whatever's after your name in the chapter. It's a lot of pressure, because that alone is you're the leader of the ACF for that region at that moment, right? And it's, to me, it's that, and making sure that we're following the culinarian's code through leadership, and we're doing that, and we're reinforcing that, but just keeping the thing moving and keeping people engaged. And what we all get gratification out of, even as chefs, is mentoring and seeing our mentees succeed, and just like Chef Sim said with the chef at Yingling, keeping in contact with him. You worked with him years ago, and I'm sure every now and then you think of him and you get a smile on your face, because you're like, what, he's doing good, and I had a hand in that. And this is a large platform for mentoring, and whether it be just through job networking, or just talking about food, or career paths, or certification, or competitions, or whatever it may be, is that's what motivates me as well, is moving the needle and keeping our great industry going that was so good to me in my region, and do the best way I can. So that's a little more the emotional side, but yeah, that's what motivates me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's again, it's that responsibility of being part of a great chapter and a legacy, and I don't want to be the one to screw it up. I want to keep it going and make it better. I'm a proud member of the ACF for a long time, and the national conventions definitely motivate me. You get to see people, that you haven't seen in years, and make new friends, and yeah, I mean, I just love I love everything about being a chef and being in the chef community. And for me, being in Palm Beach forever, it certainly helps, because I get a lot of great input after the meetings. Like, you really crushed it today, chef. Mostly from the board. They're like, guys, man, we did a great meeting. So we're in a real positive momentum right now. So I know we're trying to help chapters get there, and I think this whole platform today will help do that. And if I can help anybody in the future with that, I'll be available.
Excellent. Well, chefs, I thank you for your time today. We went a little over, but hey, we had some really great conversations, I think. I'm hoping that other chapters will be able to watch this recording later on and take some ideas, and hopefully make their own chapters a little bit better than what they are now, right? One thing that I like to tell my students every day is that I just ask that you guys be 1% better than you were the day before. That shows positive movement, positive growth. And ideally, that's what we should have for our chapters as well. Just be 1% better than you were the month before or the year before, whatever it might look like for your own chapter, obviously. But we're all in the industry to grow. We all want to grow personally and professionally. And I think that this forum that we have established here today might just help other chapters do just that. So, chefs, thank you. If anybody has any questions and wants to reach out to any of us, I will definitely have my email and contact information on the bottom of this video here once we get it posted. And always keep in mind, you can always go onto the ACF website, check out Chef's Table. I know a lot of chefs are posting information and questions on there. That does seem to be a huge resource right now for us. So just keep the questions coming, right? If you have a question, odds are somebody else probably does too in the ACF, and you might not even know it, right? So little things like that is how we can make things move forward. So again, chefs, thank you. Have a great night.